Hey guys, this is Angie, also known as The Light. Welcome to my channel. Today, I want to talk about something a lot different in comparison to narcissism. Well, somewhat different, but like, subscribe, and if you'd like to make a donation, my PayPal information is usually in my description box. This story, I've been dying to get this out. Sometimes I'm not gonna do videos on narcissism, but spirituality, because I'm an extremely spiritual person. I grew up in a religious home, Christian Seventh-day Adventist, which is Sabbath worship. And in my mid-20s, I'll say, about 25, 26ish, I started to leave religion. And I'm no longer Christian. I'm no longer religious. I read spiritual books. I do read the Bible. I do read other doctrines and stuff like that. I read everything because I feel in life you can learn from all different avenues. I believe in God, and I don't really want to get into the whole um religious thing, but I am a very extremely spiritual person, and I'm very spiritual, I feel, due to my experiences, and that's the reason why I left religion. um I have friends who are still religious. I still date guys who are religious, so I am not against anyone who is religious, whatever religion you are. I'm just personally am not religious any longer. um well, in my religion, I'm not going to say every Seventh-day Adventist was like this or every Christian church is like this, but growing up as a Seventh-day Adventist, everything, when it came to the spirit world or the dream world, everything was, oh, that's just the devil. That's the devil. That's the devil. There was never any explanations when it came to what exactly is the spirit world, what exactly are dark spirits, what are ghosts, what are good spirits. There was like no explanation. It was just the same thing being preached week after week. I felt like that student that they have to eventually skip because they're actually bored in class. It's exactly how I felt in church. I felt I was not growing spiritually. And then a lot of things started to happen with me as I got older. I noticed certain things from a very young age um, that was happening to me as far as like spiritual clairvoyancy type of things, dreams. I used to have a lot of dreams when I was a little girl. I didn't discuss them with my mother. I thought there was something wrong with me. Um, then basically what started happening was things that I did dream, things I dreamt started to actually come to pass. And then I would be able to get visions, and then those things started to come to pass, and I was just too afraid to even explain that to my mom, my siblings, even my narcissistic stepfather. I mean, I kept it to myself basically. I don't think I had that conversation with my mom until I was about 23, 22, and then she passed away when I was 23. So I'm going to say I started to hear things and see things, meaning different spirits and things like that, when I was about 13. And I'm sure that happened to a lot of people who have a spiritual eye, or they call it, your pineal gland, or, the third eye. You're able to see into other dimensions, so to say. But anyway, I knew what I knew because of the experiences and the things that I was going through. But then again, it's like you're going to church and they're telling you, no, if you do see those things, that's the devil. The devil's attacking you. And, or you have mental illness, you need to go see a therapist, or you need help, because we're not seeing those things. And the thing about it is, not everyone can see those things. And it doesn't mean that I'm better, or anyone else who can see things, or who gets, premonitions and things like that, doesn't mean that they're better. It just means, one, they're open to it spiritually, or two, they're just not chosen to see it. I feel that God uses everyone for different things. That just happens to be my particular spiritual gift, or whatever the case is. Um so I was about I'm going to say this is back in like 2009. I don't remember how old I was. I'm horrible at math. I was definitely in my 20s. I think I was about, what, 26, 27 in 2009. And I was attending medical assistant school. um the medical people are, the ones when you go to the doctor office, they do your triage and stuff like that. They get you prepared to before you see the doctor. So I was in school for that. And I would travel. I live in New York, so I would travel from Queens to Long Island every day. And I always had to go through a particular part of Queens before I got into Long Island. And there was like a swap meet type of mall, and I would always go there because they had cheap stuff. And I love thrifting, so they had a thrift store in there. They had like little boutiques in this particular mall. They even had like cheap food. So I would always go there every day. After school, I would have on my scrubs, and just I looked important, I guess, so to say. So I would always pass this clothing store, and oh gosh, I would always pass this clothing store, and I would see this guy, and I thought like, wow, he's kind of cute. Like, he was just my type physically, and he just looked like, everything that I would like want in a guy. Like, I just liked his swag. I don't know if y'all know the rapper Andre 3000. He kind of reminded me of Andre 3000. Look him up. He's from the group Outkast, if y'all not familiar with hip hop. Okay. So he kind of had like an Andre 3000 swag to him, and I could just tell off the back he was like from the conscious community. Conscious community is like people who are aware of self-knowledge, as meaning your African heritage. You're aware of the things that are going on in the world that the elites of the world basically can't see. You're in that percentage of, you see exactly what's going on in the world. So that's what it means when you're in part of the conscious community, pretty much. So I could tell he was from that conscious community by his clothing, by his store and the things that he sold in his store, just the way he carried himself. That is what I assumed, pretty much. And it was really strange because it was like it was weird. It was like, because it's like a mall, his store was like near a food court area. So there was like chairs and tables in the middle, and then there were like stores on each side, basically, of the, I guess you can say, of the whole way, basically. So there's like tables and chairs, and then there's stores along this wall, there's stores along this wall. So I would walk on the opposite wall and kind of just peek over at him in his store. I would never go into his store. And then one day, he just like looked at me. We caught eyes with each other. He looked as if he never like saw me, like he wasn't ever paying attention to me. But come to find out later, he was always paying attention to me. So he said to me, "Oh, why don't you come in my store and look around?" So I went in his store, and the clothing were nice, but they had some weird like images on the clothing. And I don't know if you're into symbolism, but I'm into symbolism. And if you research symbols, you would find out like a whole lot, symbols that you would see like on churches and government buildings. And I'm into all of that. Like, and you'll find them sometime on clothing, or sometimes part of, different demonic groups and stuff like that. You could be rocking a shirt and you don't even know what the hell you got on your clothing. And I see a lot. I'll be walking down the street looking at people like, I wonder if they know what the hell is on their shirt. But anyway, that's something that you'll have to research if you're not up on that. But I saw like he had different type of symbols and symbols that I didn't recognize, but they just stood out to me. And I was just like, this is interesting. Like, I probably wouldn't have worn his clothes, like, if, I'm just a regular customer coming in, because those symbols just made my spirit feel, uncomfortable pretty much. And it was weird. I'm gonna tell you the truth, your spirit is very, very sensitive. And I'm sorry, at least I could say my spirit is very sensitive. My intuition is extremely strong. And it was weird. It was like, even though I was physically attracted to him, I felt like my spirit kept saying, stay away from this guy. I just always felt like, go the other direction. Don't talk to this guy. But the physical body, my lust, my urges was like, dang, he's cute. I really want to talk to him. But in the back of my mind, like, my spirit, my soul was saying, run, leave this guy alone. Do not talk to him. Kind of like when I ask some of my friends who they're divorced now, and I asked them, when you were at the altar, did you hear a voice, or before you got married, did you remember like signs and symbols and, warning signs, or did you hear something in you telling you not marry this person? They all say yes. And I'm like, but why didn't you answer that call? They were like, I thought I was just tripping. No, that is your creator telling you, or that's the universe telling you, your soul telling you, stop, like, don't do this, or leave this person alone. Like, stop questioning your intuition. Your intuition is there. It's built in you for a reason, for your own protection. You have to start listening to it. You have to embrace it, because it's real. No, you're not bugging. There's a reason why your energy, your frequency is going, you need to get the hell out of here, okay? Because sometimes there's things about someone that you can't see on the physical. Anyway, this is going to be a long story, so prepare yourselves. I'm already at like 13 minutes. So, I looked around his store, and every time I kept coming back to this mall, we started to talk more and more. So one day, I'm sitting down and I'm eating, and when I look up, I see him walking towards me. And I was just like, oh shoot, I was really, really nervous. Because believe it or not, I'm a shy person. Like, I may not look like a shy person, but I am a shy person most of the time. I have my outgoing moments. I'm surprised I even do this channel. But anyway, so he came up to me, and I'm eating, and I'm looking at him like, uh-oh, what does he want? So he sat down. And this should have been like a real indication of like something was up, like something wasn't right with this guy. He sat down, he looked at me, and he said, are you a Christian? Keep in mind, I don't know what a Christian looked like. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how this guy knew that I was a Christian. I mean, I wore scrubs every time he saw me. I had on scrubs. I didn't have on, a button-up shirt and, a long skirt. So how did this guy even know that I was a Christian? So he was just like, are you a Christian? I said, yeah. I said, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, I can tell. I could just tell, And I said, okay, cool. So he said, do you know like how Seventh-day Adventism started? So he started to go through the whole history about Adventism and all these different things. We started talking about these different, subjects about religion and spirituality and stuff like that. And he gave me his number. He said, call me. And I was just like, okay. Like, I in my heart, I was not going to call him. But later on that evening, or like the next day, I believe, I text him. And I'm kid you not, this feels like this went super duper fast. Like, one day I felt like I was just sitting there like talking to him while I was eating, and then 2 days later I was at his house. Okay, guys, I was at his house. 2 days later, it went super duper fast. So I go to his house. He invites me to his house. And at the time I was living with my god sister, because her house was closer to the school where I was attending. So I would travel from her house to get to school. It was much faster. Anyway, so I I go to his house and he just invites me over, like, oh, I'm gonna cook dinner and just wanna watch a movie and just get to know you and hang out. And I was just like, okay, because you know what, back then I really was not looking for no type of relationship. I was just looking to chill. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking to chill. So I go to his house, and his house was like, he lived in like a basement apartment of a house. Like in New York, people rent out like their basement apartments, or like they break up their homes, into apartments pretty much. It's not always like in buildings. So he lived in this house and he was in the basement apartment. So I remember like going down the stairs, and I remember seeing like it was a mess, and I was just like, ooh, this guy is not really a clean dude. And it was just kind of shocking because he was like fly, like he was good looking, he smelled good, he looked like he was clean, but like his home just looked like turned upside down. I was just like, it wasn't like filthy. It was just like stuff all over the place. Like it was just unorganized. To me, somebody who has an unorganized home shows you how unorganized they are in their mind, in their spirit. So, yeah, just watch out for people like that. Your home is a reflection of your temple. Okay. So, I noticed there was like a rack of like in the closet. It was exposed, and it looked like there was like women's clothes there, but it looked like the person had like taken half of the clothes. Then I kind of saw like some baby stuff. So I asked him, I was just like, are you married or something? Like, you have a girlfriend? And he was like, oh no, I broke up with someone. I broke up, with my daughter's mother, and she just like moved out not too long ago. And I can kind of tell. It just looked like whoever this woman was. I know you're like, why the hell are you talking to this guy? It looked like she like got the hell out of there. Like she took whatever she can take at the moment, and she left behind certain stuff. That's what it looked like. It looked like she ran the fuck up out of there, pretty much. And so I remember that night we were just like vibing, like he was playing music, and it was just so strange because he started talking about how he dated Alicia Keys and how they went to high school together and whatever. Like, he showed me like pictures of them and stuff like that, and I was just like, Alicia Keys is a singer, if anyone wants to know. She's a celebrity. Anyway, so I was just like, he seemed obsessed about Alicia Keys and how they dated, and how like he would wish he can have her back or whatever the case is. And I'm looking at him like, Alicia Keys ain't thinking about you, pretty much. But anyway, so he was talking about Alicia Keys. We were talking about spirituality, astrology, all these different things. And he had like tons and tons of books all over his apartment. And I remember drinking actually some water, and there was a table there, and I put my water on top of his table, and he like snatched it off, and I was just like, what? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I had to put your water on the floor because this is my altar. And I looked, because this apartment was just such a mess. I wouldn't have been able to tell that wasn't altar, So I was just like, oh, okay. And back then I didn't have much knowledge about altars because they say the altar at, in church is okay, but anyone who has an altar in their home is demonic, is this, is that. So I heard about altars, but it was just like anyone who has an altar in their home is like they're of the devil, whatever the case is. Some people are and some people aren't. So anyway, he proceeded to tell, he asked me, do you know what an altar is? And I was just like, well, not really. I guess you give it like a dedication to your ancestors. So he was like, stand up. I'm going to show you how you properly set up an altar. So he began to show me, how you set up an altar. He actually had 2 altars in his house. There was like one in his bedroom and then one in his kitchen. And he just showed me how to properly put up an altar. There was this one moment which was really, really strange to me, and where I feel he probably was able to look into my soul was through my eyes. And it was a moment where we were talking and we were like face to face, and then he just began to like stare at me like how you would probably see in a movie. Like he was just like, and then I like locked eyes with him too, and we're both like staring at each other. And then there was a moment where I snapped out of it and I was just like, whoa, like what the hell was that? And he was like, oh, what do you mean? And I was just like, I don't know. Like I remember it. I don't remember like what happened within that moment, but I knew that something was off about him, but I wasn't sure. At the same time, it still like made me want to go back to him or whatever the case is. After that, we continued to hang out for a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks went by and I ended up sleeping over his house. And this is when we have sex one time. Okay? One time. I remember we did use protection, but I remember that the sex wasn't like passionate or intense or anything like that. It was like he cut all the lights out. I remember it was like pitch black. And that was kind of weird too, because I never really knew anyone to like want to have sex in like pitch black. And I remember that after it was over, like I got up, went to the bathroom, rinsed off like how us girls do. And when I came back to the room and I got into the bed with him, he like locked himself. He like locked me in like this. Like I don't know. I don't care how much you're in love or husband's wife. I know y'all don't sleep like that. His legs like was interlocked. Like I couldn't even move right to left. Like every time I slept over his house, that's how we slept. I could not sleep the whole night because he would have me completely locked in. And I don't know. I don't know what transpired, but I remember him saying to me, "Do you know what is do you want to know the fastest way to get somebody's soul, to get inside of them?" And I was just like, "Okay, what?" He said, "Through their eyes or through fornication." And I was just like, "Okay." And even that, I was just like, floating, didn't even realize what this man was even talking about. And this guy is of Haitian descent. I have nothing against Haitian people. Just giving you an indication that he was probably involved with voodoo, I don't know, black magic, something like that. So then weeks are going by and I'm noticing like I'm just becoming more and more obsessed with this guy. Like I feel like I needed to see him all the time. And his demands became more and more intense. Like when you come to my business, you have to bring me money. You have to bring me food. you have to see me. Anytime you pass my business, you have to stop. And I actually started to do it, guys. Like, and that's not me. Like, I'm very girly, where I'm used to like a man catering to me. Like, I'm not a type of woman that would like spend money on men and all this stuff. And we're not even in a relationship. Like, I'm not that type of girl. I'm used to like a man spoiling me, whining and dining me and stuff like that. Of course, if we're in a relationship, I would do the same, but I am not that type of girl who's going to be cooking and cleaning and doing all this stuff, and we're not even in a committed relationship. And my god sister said to me, yo, you're bugging. Something is wrong. Like, you're tripping. I was just like, what are you talking about? All of my friends was just like, yo, I really think this guy put a spell on you. And I was just like, there's no way. This guy didn't put no spell on me. And they're like, Angie, I'm sorry. I think there's something wrong with you. Like, you're not acting like yourself. You don't normally spend money on a guy. You don't normally be cooking meals every single day and going to a guy's house every single day. And I didn't like reject what my friends were saying, but I didn't take it all the way in either. But they just continue to tell me, like, Angie, you're not acting like yourself. Something is seriously off here. So I think I had it in the back of my mind that something was off, but I wasn't too sure, basically, because I was in this trance that this guy put on me. So I had went to him and I talked to him. I was just like, oh, you know what? I made like a joke because, sometimes you find like those pentagrams under people's beds and stuff like that. So I went to him, was just like, oh, you have a pentagram underneath your bed or some bones? And he didn't laugh. And I was just like, he said, well, maybe I do. And I was just like, okay, and I was just like, well, that was weird. Like, why didn't he laugh? So that stuck in my head. And I was just so thankful that my friends, were telling me, like, Angie, you're not acting like yourself. When it got really crazy, as the weeks went by or the months went by, I remember sitting down watching TV, and I heard him speaking to me, but from within. Now listen, the only two voices I usually hear is myself and God, okay, in my mind. I started to be able to hear him from within me, calling me. I would hear him just say, come to me, come to me, come to me. And I would be like, what the hell? And I'll be sitting there on the couch watching TV with my god sister, and I would be like, Margot, did you hear that? And she'll be like, Angie, you're bugging. What is going on with you? I'm telling you, that guy put a spell on you. Something is wrong with you. You're not acting like yourself. And I'm not going to joke, guys. I would get up in the middle of the night and leave my house and go to this man's house. He never had to text me. He never had to call me. And when I would get to his house, he would be home. When I would get to his house, he'll be sometimes waiting outside for me, as if he knew. He telepathically spoke to me to tell me to come to him. Keep in mind, throughout this whole time, I only had sex with him one time. And that's when I want to tell you how powerful sex is, and how when you have sex with someone, you let them into your spirit. Okay, and vice versa. You intake them, they intake you. And they have that power and that control. They can do anything to you once you let them in, okay? That is how freaking powerful sex is. It is a spiritual exchange. Yes, it feels great, but it is spiritual. It's not just physical. Okay, so anyway, I was tripping, guys. I can hear this man's voice in my head. Sometimes my cell phone would act up. I felt like he was like, I don't know what he was doing or how high his frequency was. But electronics around me started to just break. All these different things. I mean, he knew things as if he could see them or he can hear them, basically. Um, it was just a really scary experience. And at the time, I was best friends with this narcissist. And one time, this guy that put the spell on me, he said to me, I need you to bring me your best friend. And I was like, what do you mean you need me to bring him to you? And he was just like, oh, because this guy loves you and I need to get him out of your soul. And I mean, guys, this is a true story. And I was just like, well, I'm not going to bring you my best friend, And yes, you would think, okay, she's hearing all this stuff. She's going through all these things with this guy. Why won't she leave? If you have a spell on you, you can't just get up and leave, guys. You cannot. It does not work that way. So, I didn't even know, like, I wasn't spiritually advanced when it came to spells and how to break them or anything like that. And the only thing I can think of to do to try to break that frequency, I said, well, how he got in my spirit was through sex. So I said to myself, well, maybe if I had sex, this is what I said to myself. If I have sex with someone else, then maybe it will break the connection. He'll know. I don't know where the hell I got that from, but I did it. I called up my ex and I ended up having sex with my ex. This guy knew immediately. Immediately. After I had sex with my ex, I'm going to say maybe about 2 days later, I went to go see the guy. And he was furious, guys. When I tell you he was furious, he was so mad. There was no way in hell this guy could have known that I had sex with my ex. Keep in mind, me and him wasn't even having a sexual relationship. He only had sex with me once. And keep in mind, I was only keeping him company, helping him with his business, giving him money, cooking him food. Like, that's what he put the spell on me for. Or maybe he really did want me. But, I feel like he just wanted me because he wanted to train me to be that particular woman. He wanted me to love him or whatever. He wanted to train me to, so he can use me for whatever it is that he wanted to use me for. So, I also remember when he met my god sister, he said, I hate your god sister. And I mean, he just met her just that one time, like shook her hand. I said, why do you hate her so much? And he said, because her soul is empty. She has nothing to give. So I just want to say to you, sometimes demons, spirits, Satan, whoever, whatever you believe in that's part of the dark world, sometimes they don't bother you because you are part of that kingdom. Those dark spirits, they can only take from light, just like the narcissist does as well. They have to drain from people who have something to give. They're not going to drain off of someone who's full of darkness because they're darkness. You already work for them, basically. And this is why it's important for you to protect yourself, to be careful who you're sleeping with, who you're talking to, who you're dating, who you marry. I mean, who you're friends with. Is very, very important to be careful. Like, sex is not something to play with, okay? After this experience, I never looked at sex the same. I never looked at the spirit world the same. My whole life in church, they told me that these type of things weren't real. These things don't happen, and it happened to me, okay? Yes, I had a spell on me. Yes, I was hearing voices. I felt like I couldn't live without him. I was just like so obsessed with him. And that's how you'll know probably if someone did put a spell on you, is when you're just, it's okay to like someone, but when you're just completely obsessed, when you feel like, if I don't see this person, if I can't be around them, like I'm just gonna die. Like I can't breathe. I need to be around them. You know what I'm saying? And that's not cool. You should not be hearing nobody's voice in your head. You should not be having your electronics breaking down and people knowing what you were talking about and they weren't even present, you know what I'm saying? Or them knowing what you're doing and they weren't there. You know what I'm saying? Like that is supernatural. This guy was into so much. He really tapped into a lot. First of all, if you gotta put a spell on somebody to love you, you're freaking lame. First of all, okay? You should have enough personality, enough light, you know, enough going on with yourself that you can attract someone to make them like you or make them love you. Not make them, but you know what I'm saying? You should be that fly that you will be able to attract someone who is on your level and who will eventually love you and like you. Okay, so this loser put a spell on me, and honestly, I just walked away from the situation. Him and I actually ended up getting in a horrible argument. I guess whatever he was doing was not working on me. I was not falling for him. Once I found out and I knew in my heart that he put a spell on me, I mean, I remember actually praying to God. I was just like, God, if he did put a spell on me, if something is definitely wrong, when I go to his house, give me a sign. And he used to sew clothing. He was a fashion designer. And when I got to his house, I found like a patch. You know the patches you put on like, you know, shirts and jackets and stuff like that. I found a patch on the floor as soon as I walked in his house. And on the patch, it was like a little devil's face with the horns. And it said, God is busy. How may I help you? And it was as if when I looked at that patch, it was like whoosh. It felt like the spell like lifted off me. Like I felt like, damn, this guy is really dark. Like this guy really was doing shit to me. This is real. Like I felt like the veil lifted up from my eyes, and I was thankful. I'm thankful that I got out of that situation and it wasn't a worse situation. I just went cold turkey. I left him alone. Yes, I continued to hear his voice, you know, and felt like I needed to see him, but I would not go. I did not call him. I did not text him. He got really angry and was just like, take all my photos off of Facebook. Take this off. You know, like I deleted all his photos, deleted him, blocked him. You know, years later, I see him actually, because he's from Harlem, New York. I see him and he speaks to me sometimes, you know, like hello. I just say hello and I keep walking. I'm not afraid of him. He doesn't do anything to me. You know, it is what it is. I'm just thankful for that experience that I went through. And I don't tell people this story often, but I just want you to know, like, you have to be very careful in who you get yourself involved with. And when your spirit and your intuition tells you to leave somebody alone, leave them alone. I hope this story is impactful for you. It's a real story. I try to shorten it down as much as I can, but it is a real story. And I have lots and lots of paranormal or spiritual stories, empathic stories, which I'm going to continue to share once in a blue moon on my channel. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm sorry this video was so long. Peace and blessings. Protect your light. Protect your spirit.